Is Home Depot a prepper's paradise? Today, I'm taking you to Home Depot to hunt for prepping gear and supplies and show you my top picks that I always grab. Stay tuned for must-haves as well as things not to buy at Home Depot. Hey guys, it's Jara with Wicked Prepared. Home Depot may not be the first place that comes to mind when you think about stocking up and preparing for emergencies or SHTF. But if you really take a look, there are a lot of items that are perfect for emergency preparedness. Today, I'm breaking it down into 10 categories and showing you dozens of prepping items you can pick up at the Home Depot. Let's go. The first category of items is containers. You won't find much food at Home Depot for stocking your prepper pantry, but you can find some great containers for storing food and other supplies. My favorite containers to pick up here are these waterproof storage totes. These have a gasket in the lid and clips that hold the lid on tightly to protect the contents from air and moisture. These are great for packaged food or any gear that could be damaged or destroyed by water. If you store your preps in a basement or a cellar, these are a must-have. I keep our blackout box and our emergency cooking kit, among other things, in these totes. These are clear and they come in several different sizes. On this trip to Home Depot, though, we discovered these similar totes. These are Husky brand. They're not clear, which could be a positive or a negative depending on what you're looking for. And these are made in the USA. The gaskets on these also feel a little bit more substantial and the containers are very rugged. Besides the waterproof totes, you can also find these heavy-duty totes that are very popular with preppers for storage. They even come in a mini shoebox size. Small boxes this size are great for organizing smaller items like batteries, matches and lighters, headlamps, and medications. I prefer the clear ones because it's easy to see what's inside without needing to read the label. One more thing I like to grab at Home Depot for organizing small preps are these multi-compartment cases that are sold with the toolboxes. These are great for organizing small kit items like these. You might also pick up a wheeled tote or a wheeled toolbox of some sort to organize bug-out gear or other supplies for easy transport. Of course, don't forget about shelving to hold all your totes. Using shelves allows you to efficiently store more in less space. The Home Depot has some really nice shelving units. One thing that we love about the Home Depot is their support of American-made products and American manufacturing. Over half of the products that they sell are sourced from the United States. In the wake of the ongoing trade war and tariffs, they're actively working to increase this number and reduce their dependence on other countries for sourcing. With the current state of the world and the economy, it's more important now than ever to seek out and support American-made whenever possible. Sometimes it seems near impossible, and sometimes it's cost prohibitive. But finding the right stores, sources, and companies helps. We assessed our buying habits and found an easy way to swap our spending on a lot of everyday essentials over to supporting American-made and family-owned. How we spend our dollars makes a difference. Who and what we support with our dollars makes a difference. We can support American families instead of sending all of our money overseas. If this is important to you too, and you want to learn more about voting with your dollars and making an easy swap to American-made products, check out the link down below. We can make a difference for our families and our community. Now let's get back to Home Depot. Of course, Home Depot can also be a great place to pick up 5-gallon buckets. These are great for storing bulk food like grains, as well as other gear and supplies. The recognizable orange Home Depot buckets that you see stacked just about everywhere throughout the store are not actually food grade. This is more because of the coloring that's added to them, the orange color, than the type of plastic, but they can be used to store and carry other gear or to make a makeshift toilet. A piece of foam pipe insulation could probably be used in place of a pool noodle to pad the opening for a comfier toilet seat. While you shouldn't put loose food like wheat kernels or rice directly in a non-food grade bucket, it doesn't matter as much if the food is packaged in store packaging or Mylar. However, Home Depot does sell 5-gallon white buckets that are food grade. Just look for this symbol. They also sell an off-brand of Gamma lids. These lids pound onto your 5-gallon pail and have an inner part that screws on and off for an easy access lid that's also air and watertight. Another neat accessory I found here that might come in handy is a padded spinning seat lid that turns your 5-gallon bucket into a storage stool that you can sit on. Also, look at Home Depot for metal trash cans. We found them outside in the lawn and garden department. These are good for more than just trash. With a little modification, they can become a Faraday cage to protect your electronic equipment from an EMP. They're also a rodent-proof container for food. Whether it's animal food for your pets or your livestock, or human food for your family, it will do a very good job at keeping the critters out of it, which is going to be very important in an emergency situation. Another major category of preps that you can find at Home Depot is fire, heat, and cooking. Fire is one of the most basic elements of prepping, as it can provide both of the other things I mentioned, providing both heat and a means for cooking food in addition to other things. Home Depot carries both matches and lighters, as well as a variety of different fire starters and fatwood. We did see some firewood bundles for sale, but that wouldn't be a very efficient or cost-effective way to build a supply of firewood. However, I do recommend picking up some wood cutting, felling, and splitting tools. This can allow you to procure your own firewood after a disaster or during an SHTF situation. Home Depot has a good variety of axes, hatchets, and splitting wedges, and mauls. The great thing about these tools is that they don't require any fuel, which is a finite resource with a limited shelf life and will be in short supply during an emergency. It still isn't a bad idea to have a chainsaw if you have the space, the funds, and the physical ability to run one. A chainsaw will be invaluable for storm cleanup as well as firewood. Just make sure you have appropriate fuel stored as well. Both of these can be found at Home Depot. Another thing to consider is a battery-operated chainsaw. Mr. Wicked Prepared has this one, and he loves it. You can do quite a lot with a battery-powered chainsaw, believe it or not. Although we have gas-powered chainsaws, he quite often prefers to reach for the battery-powered one. They have the advantage of being much quieter than a gas chainsaw, which can be important if you're trying to be stealthy and protect your location or protect what you have during an extreme situation. You can also recharge them over and over again if you have a solar power station, so you won't have the worry of running out of fuel. No matter which type of chainsaw you have, be sure to have plenty of tools and parts for maintaining them. Home Depot has everything you need for this. While wood is the most dependable and renewable fuel for heating during a long-term situation, there are many situations we may face when an easier, more temporary emergency heating solution would be appropriate. Home Depot sells both kerosene and propane emergency heaters. Either or both of these would be a solid choice to keep on hand for cold weather emergencies. Home Depot also carries the fuel that you would need to run them. The Buddy Heater brand is a popular line of propane heaters that are safe for indoor use. Home Depot carries them at a decent price, as well as accessories, including this booster fan that I had never even seen before. For cooking, Home Depot has a full line of grills, both charcoal and gas-powered. Many of us already have grills that could be used for cooking after a disaster, but if you don't, consider purchasing one. Even if you're limited on space, you might be able to find room to store a tabletop or a folding travel grill. Of course, grills are only for cooking outdoors, but they could come in handy if you're left without power for days or weeks after a devastating storm has passed. Be sure to stock a good supply of whichever fuel is needed for your grill. Besides grills, we also found some other pretty cool outdoor propane-powered cooking appliances, everything from griddles to pizza ovens to turkey frying burners, which could also be good for emergency canning operations, and this crazy giant wok-looking thing. Home Depot also has a variety of Lodge cast iron items, barbecue gloves, and utensils. I also found this handled grill basket that could be used for cooking over a fire pit. They also stock several kinds of charcoal. I prefer the matchlight type, as well as a charcoal chimney and lighter fluid. You can cook some pretty mean meals with just a pile of charcoal and a cast iron Dutch oven. Another thing to consider picking up at Home Depot is some denatured alcohol. This can also be used as a fuel for cooking, and many people consider it safer for indoor use than a lot of other fuel options. But always do your research before deciding on an indoor emergency cooking method. You can purchase an alcohol stove online very inexpensively, but you could probably find some supplies just around your house and in your recycling bin to make one yourself. Speaking of DIY stoves, if you pick up a stack of simple bricks or cinder blocks, you'll have everything you need to build a rocket stove. These simple but highly efficient stoves burn leaves, sticks, twigs, or just about any small wood bits that you can find to pull off many cooking tasks. I mentioned you can't buy much food at Home Depot, so I wanted to take a moment to pass along this deal to our viewers. If you want the best long-term food storage that's also completely a product of the USA, sourced and freeze-dried in the USA, check out tryfreezedried.com for a coupon deal that's going on right now if you're watching this video within the first day or two of upload. This is a buy two, get two free on freeze-dried breakfast items. Breakfast is all too often overlooked by preppers. People stock up on their beans and rice, but they don't think about the most important meal of the day. Don't make that mistake with your prepper pantry. This deal includes things like eggs and omelets, ham, bacon and sausage, hash browns, French toast, stuffed bagel bites. This is going to totally level up your prepper pantry. Find the coupon code on the website that I just gave you. These deals are limited time while supplies last, and things tend to go quickly. This is the food that's being stockpiled by the government, by the military, by the people who have a little bit deeper knowledge of what's going on than most of us everyday people. So it's in very high demand, and with a sale like this, enough said. This deal ends Monday the 20th. So if you missed out on this sale, or on just a few items you wanted, bookmark Try Freeze Dried and keep checking back because we update it whenever there's a new sale. Better yet, text alert to my number I'll put on the screen for you, and I'll add you to my list to keep updated with new sales and coupons for all the best stuff for your prepper pantry. Okay, enough about food. Now let's get back to the supplies. Another very important piece of the preparedness puzzle is backup power, and Home Depot has what you need in this area. We found a range of gas generators here, as well as a couple of power stations and solar panels to charge them when the grid is down. Which type of generator you should get depends on your needs and your situation, although having both types would be ideal. If you have a gas generator, you can pick up some gas cans here at Home Depot, as well as some fuel stabilizer to make sure you can keep it running when it matters. You'll also want to pick up what you need to maintain it and keep it in working order. Solar power stations don't require much in the way of maintenance or repairs, but whichever type of generator you have, you're going to want to make sure you have extension cords as well. You can pick up a few at Home Depot if you need them. We also found some battery packs that can be used to keep your smaller items like cell phones charged up and operational. They had them ranging from 2,500 milliamp hours up to 20,000 milliamp hours, which would be enough to give a typical cell phone several full charges. Next up is light. Very important in any kind of grid down emergency, and equally important to keep in your vehicle, your bug out bag, and any other kits that you have. The Home Depot has a very good selection of flashlights and headlamps. Headlamps are a must-have because they allow you to have full use of your hands, but you can never have too many lights of every type, shape, and size. They even have a couple of lanterns here at Home Depot. Of course, you can also pick up your batteries here. They have large packs of name brand batteries. They also had quite a bit of different things in their lighting section. Some battery operated lights that would be very handy during a power outage, and also these power failure lights that are a must-have for me. These stay plugged into your power outlets at all times, and they stay charged up. And then when they sense that the power goes out, they automatically come on, creating an emergency lighting system and ensuring that you're never going to be left in the dark, even for a minute. They can then be removed from the outlet and carried as a flashlight or left in the outlet for ambient light. I have a different brand than these, but it looks like these can also function as a night light. One more thing that you can always grab at Home Depot are the little solar pathway lights. These charge all day, and at night they can light your path outdoors. During a power outage, it's very, very dark because everything is out, even the things you might not usually think about, things like the street lights and porch lights, and everything is out. So it's going to be pretty pitch black outside. But if you don't need the light outside, you can also pick a few of these lights out of the ground and carry them inside to use for light inside as well. Another category of preps that you can fulfill at Home Depot is flood preparedness. Even if you don't live in a typical or known flood zone, the one thing we've learned is that we need to expect the unexpected. Never say the words, "It couldn't happen to me." Prepare for anything and just pray you never need it. I was surprised to find a variety of quick dam flood barriers and flood bags here at Home Depot. These work similarly to sandbags, except they're water activated. They work with the water, absorbing it and swelling quickly to full size. So they're ultimately easier to store and to deploy than traditional sandbags. So they're better for many different applications. Traditional sandbags, while they are easy to store when they're empty, they're laborious to fill and you need to have access to sand to fill them. I think keeping some of these quick dam barriers on hand is smart. They also carry sump pumps, including this whole system, which includes a pump with a battery backup. And here at Home Depot, they also have a good selection of mold cleaning products and moisture absorbers. And these would be very, very important to have during the cleanup after a flooding event. They also have a good selection of rain suits that would be very good to have during a flooding emergency. One thing Home Depot is known for is their building materials. There are some things in this category that can be crucial for preparedness. If you can, keeping some plywood sheets on hand can be very useful for repairs or fortification during or after an emergency. Repairs after storm damage or reinforcing weaknesses in your home during invasion or civil unrest are some examples of uses for plywood and other materials. You can even pre-cut some of your plywood sheets to custom fit your doors and windows. Be sure to also keep plenty of screws and nails of various shapes and sizes on hand as well. Speaking of security, you can use some of those screws to beef up your home security proactively before an emergency happens. Replacing the standard screws in your door's latch, deadbolt, and hinges with longer 3-inch screws can make it more difficult for someone to kick in the door and breach your entry. Remember, criminals and troublemakers prefer to go for an easy target, so anything you can do to make it that much more challenging will protect your home, family, and preps. Home Depot is a great source for adhesives of all sorts, which every prepper should have. Those prepper classics, duct tape and super glue, are here at Home Depot, but also think about picking up electrical tape, foil tape, waterproofing tape, Gorilla Glue, and others. Check out Home Depot for plastic sheeting as well and expanding spray foam insulation. We found all sorts of this, types that I didn't even know existed, including fire block and pest block varieties. These can be used for weatherproofing, but also in conjunction with the plastic sheeting and duct tape to seal off your home or a portion of it if necessary due to something like a nuclear attack or disaster, a chemical or biological attack or accident, a volcanic eruption, or a serious pandemic. You might want to pick up a staple gun to help with this as well. Next, let's think about protection and security. Home Depot has a great selection of PPE or personal protective equipment. Everything from work gloves and goggles to masks and respirators to hard hats and helmets, ponchos, and reflective gear. These are all important to have on hand if needed during a disaster or the cleanup after the fact. Look for seasonal items as well. Right now, my store has displays of thermal gear to keep on hand for cold weather emergencies. We even found a selection of Milwaukee heated outerwear and this heated seat pad. Besides protecting ourselves, we also need to protect our homes. Fire extinguishers and blankets, smoke detectors, and carbon monoxide detectors all help with both of these things. They're important to have in our homes at all times, tested to make sure they're working properly. But during an emergency, when we might be using candles, alternative fuels, and alternative heating and cooking appliances, it becomes even more crucial. Another thing I like at Home Depot are smart door locks to add a layer of security to our homes. While some of these can work in conjunction with the internet, the ones that we've used can stand alone and they use batteries for power, so they function perfectly well when the grid is down. When you do have connection, though, you have the ability to do things like lock the door from anywhere, so you never have to wonder if you forgot to lock the door or worry about a family member losing their key and being locked out, not to mention the concern about what could happen if the wrong person found that key. We need to protect our homes and the preps we store within them at all times. You can also pick up chains and padlocks from Home Depot's vast selection that can also be used to secure your home and property. We also need to protect our homes and our preps from pests. The tiniest invaders, rodents and insects, can spread disease as well as damage gear and decimate your food supply. Pest control is a simple but vital prep that many people overlook. Home Depot has a wide array of products to help in this arena. Keep a good stockpile of snap traps to make sure mice and rats don't become a problem. Please, though, don't buy glue traps or poison baits. These are a much crueler fate for the intended target, and they also kill many other animals that we don't want to harm. You can also pick up mosquito repellents here at Home Depot. After a disaster, mosquitoes could be a big problem, and they can also spread many diseases to humans. Next up is first aid. While Home Depot doesn't have a very extensive first aid section, they do have a couple of pretty nice complete first aid kits sold with their protective gear. This Milwaukee one gets bonus points from me for its super awesome case. You can also find a few things for your emergency communication system here at Home Depot. They carry several different sets of walkie-talkies, which also have NOAA weather radio built in. Another thing I was surprised to see sold here at my Home Depot was Starlink. Starlink has proved invaluable for keeping people connected after disasters. Next, food and water. We've already determined that the Home Depot is not a good place to find food, and it's not really a good place to find water either, but they did have these cases of water bottles available throughout the store. And sometimes a place like this is worth checking for these essentials because it isn't the go-to place. So they don't get wiped out as quickly when panic buying begins. Target, Walmart, Costco, grocery stores, those are the places that people think of, so they're the first to run out of supplies. Your Home Depot or other hardware store might still have what you need in stock. My Home Depot store also has a Primo 5-gallon water jug exchange at the front of the store. I actually prefer keeping a lot of my water storage in these 5-gallon water cooler jugs because I know that we're going to rotate through them. Also worth mentioning is the fact that Home Depot sells gutters and gutter accessories. This could help you create a rain catchment system on your home that could be a source of emergency water. The next category we can knock off the list is cleaning and paper supplies. Home Depot has a good selection of cleaning supplies, including disinfecting wipes, which were one of the hardest hit items during the pandemic. A few standouts that I recommend picking up here that you don't always necessarily see anywhere else are this industrial germicidal bleach and this 30% concentrated vinegar. They also have this supersized bag of baking soda. You can make a lot of your own cleaners with just these 3 products. Don't forget that bleach has a limited shelf life of only about 9 months, so don't stockpile too much. I try not to buy more than I'll use up in about a 6-month period. You can also get some basic paper products here. Even harder hit than those disinfecting wipes, toilet paper. And you can pick up toilet paper and paper towels here at Home Depot. We also found some other cleaning wipes like these that we thought would be really handy for cleaning up during a grid down when there might not be hot running water or laundry facilities. The final category of preps that you can find at Home Depot is kind of a no-brainer: tools and gear. Of course, this store is well known for its extensive selection of tools. Manual tools will be a necessity during or after disaster or grid down. Basics like hammers, screwdrivers, and wrenches, really as comprehensive of a toolkit as you can put together, will serve you well. Mr. Wicked Prepared pointed out some at the top of his list are pry bars and other prying tools. Keep in mind that some of these can serve double duty as self-defense tools if necessary. Besides your basic tools, our Home Depot did have a few outdoorsman knives, multi-tools, and knife sharpeners. One thing to keep in mind, if you're shopping for American-made products, it can get a little tricky. Sometimes you'll see what looks like an American-made symbol, but if you look closely at this one, you'll notice it says designed, engineered, and tested in the USA, but it's made in Vietnam and China. If you're looking to support American manufacturing, read carefully. Besides tools, you can and should get a selection of rope and paracord here at Home Depot. Once again, a multi-use item that should be part of every preparedness kit. Ditto for zip ties, a simple, inexpensive item that takes up very little space to store but can come in handy over and over. We found so many different zip ties here, including huge multi-packs and the biggest zip ties that we had ever seen. For reference, Mr. Wicked Prepared is 6'4". This is also a great place to stock up on tarps. They have all different sizes, even very large tarps, and accessories for them. These will come in handy for all sorts of situations, including emergency storm repairs or patch-ups. Another piece of gear that Mr. Wicked Prepared wouldn't be without: ratchet straps of all sizes, including the really big ones like these. And don't forget the basic consumables that really come in clutch in an emergency. Things like WD-40 and Fix-A-Flat for your vehicle emergency kit. And that's going to round out my list from the Home Depot for this time. What can you think of that I forgot? I hope you enjoyed this prepper's tour of the Home Depot. Let me know down below, did you see anything you'd never seen before or never thought about? What are your favorite items to pick up at the Home Depot? If you made it all the way to the end of the video, leave me a hammer emoji down in the comments. And for some more store-by-store prepping guides, check out this right here. I'm Jara with Wicked Prepared. Survive today, thrive tomorrow. We'll see you next time.